I thought taking my wife, Emily, to the company's annual party would be a perfect chance for us to relax, celebrate, and maybe even reignite some of the spark we had lost over the years. The ballroom was filled with glittering lights, soft music, and the laughter of my colleagues echoing off the walls. Emily looked stunning that night. She wore a navy blue dress that caught every reflection of light, and her smile seemed brighter than the chandeliers above us. For a moment, I felt proud that she was by my side, proud that we still had this life together. But as the night went on, something felt off. I noticed the way her eyes kept wandering, scanning the room as if she was searching for someone. When I introduced her to friends and co-workers, she smiled politely but seemed distant, almost restless. Then it happened. While I was caught up in a conversation with an old colleague, Emily slipped away. At first, I thought she had just gone to grab a drink or use the restroom. But minutes turned into half an hour, and my chest tightened with unease. Finally, I spotted her across the room, standing much too close to a man I barely knew. She was laughing, leaning into him in a way I hadn't seen her lean into me in years. The sight felt like a punch to the stomach. In that instant, I realized something I never thought I'd face: the woman I brought to the party as my wife might not leave it as mine. I stood frozen, my glass of wine trembling in my hand as I watched Emily. The man she was with was tall, sharply dressed, and carried himself with the kind of confidence that turned heads. He whispered something in her ear, and she laughed, louder and freer than she had with me in months. I tried to steady my breathing, telling myself it was innocent. Maybe he was just an old friend, maybe I was overthinking. But when his hand brushed against hers and she didn't pull away, my heart sank. I walked toward them, determined to put an end to the uneasy feeling clawing at my chest. Emily noticed me approaching, and for a brief second, her expression flickered with guilt before she masked it with a smile. "David," she said, placing her hand lightly on the man's arm, "this is Mark. He's an old acquaintance." Mark extended his hand to me with a smile that felt too smug. I shook it firmly, but inside, I was boiling. The way he looked at her, the way she looked back, it wasn't how old acquaintances behaved. Throughout the rest of the evening, Emily drifted back to him again and again, leaving me stranded in awkward small talk with coworkers who probably noticed. Every laugh she shared with him felt like another crack in the foundation of my marriage. By the time the party was nearing its end, I realized something devastating: Emily wasn't just enjoying harmless attention. She was making a choice. And that choice wasn't me. The ride home was silent. Emily sat next to me in the car, staring out the window, her phone glowing in her hand. I didn't have to ask who she was texting, I already knew. Every mile we drove felt heavier, the quietness between us louder than any argument we could have had. My fingers gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white, but I forced myself to stay calm. I wasn't going to beg. Not tonight. When we finally pulled into the driveway, she didn't move. She sat there, still looking at her phone, as though waiting for me to speak first. "Emily," I said quietly, my voice steadier than I expected. "If there's something you need to tell me, say it now." She hesitated, her lips parting before closing again. For a moment, I thought she might deny it, pretend everything was fine. But instead, she let out a long breath and whispered, almost too softly to hear, "I don't think I want this anymore." The words hung in the air like a blade suspended above me. "This?" I asked, my throat dry. "Or, me?" Her silence was the answer I had feared all night. In that moment, sitting in our own driveway, I knew the life I had built, the love I had fought for, was slipping through my fingers. But I also knew one thing with absolute clarity: I wasn't going to let her betrayal break me. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of drawers opening and closing. For a second, I thought Emily was just getting ready for work. But when I stepped into the hallway, my chest tightened. She had a suitcase on the bed. Clothes were folded in neat stacks, her favorite perfume tucked into the corner, and her wedding ring sat on the nightstand like it no longer belonged to her. Emily, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, what are you doing? She didn't look at me right away. She kept packing, her movements sharp, almost mechanical. Finally, she stopped and turned, her eyes already wet with tears she was trying to hold back. I can't do this anymore, David, she said. I don't want to keep pretending. Pretending? My words came out harsher than I intended. Pretending that what? That we're married? That you loved me? She flinched, but she didn't back down. I did love you. I still care about you, but I'm not in love with you. I haven't been for a long time. Her honesty felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I wanted to scream, to demand she stay, to ask how she could throw away years of our life together so easily. But instead, I just stood there, frozen, as she zipped up her suitcase. When she finally walked out the door, suitcase in hand, I didn't chase after her. I couldn't. Because deep down, I knew, Emily had already left me at that party. This was just the final step. The house felt impossibly empty without her. Every sound, the ticking clock in the kitchen, the creak of the wooden floors, was magnified. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the space where her suitcase had been, wondering how my life had unraveled in less than 24 hours. But as the hours passed, shock turned into something sharper, resolve. I refused to let myself crumble. If Emily thought she could walk away without consequences, she was wrong. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk, I know what happened. You deserve to know the truth. Asterisk. Confused, I replied, asterisk, who is this? Asterisk. No answer. Instead, another message followed, this time with a picture. It was Emily, smiling, holding a glass of wine, at the party last night. But the photo wasn't from me. It was from someone else who had been watching. And in the corner of the picture was Mark, his hand on her back, leaning in too close. My stomach churned. Whoever sent this wasn't a stranger. They knew something. Maybe more than I did. And in that moment, I realized, Emily's betrayal wasn't just personal, it was bigger than I imagined. I stared at the photo for what felt like hours, my mind spinning. Who would send me this? And why? Before I could think too hard, another message appeared. Asterisk, his name isn't really Mark. Be careful. Asterisk. My heart skipped a beat. I typed back instantly, asterisk, what do you mean? Who are you? Asterisk. This time, no reply came right away. I sat there, pacing the room, the silence of the house pressing in on me. Finally, another buzz. Asterisk, let's just say I've seen this before. He's done it to others. Emily isn't the first. Asterisk. I felt anger rising in my chest. Not just at Emily, but at this so-called Mark. He wasn't just some random man she happened to fall for, he was a predator, someone who seemed to take pleasure in destroying marriages. I looked again at the photo. Emily's laughter, her posture, the way she leaned toward him, it was clear she was already hooked. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, if he had fooled her so easily, what else was he hiding? I didn't know who this mysterious messenger was, but one thing was certain, my marriage wasn't just broken by chance. It had been targeted. Sleep didn't come that night. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, the glow of the screen lighting the dark room as I dug for answers. If Mark wasn't his real name, then who was he? I searched his face through social media, running image searches, combing through profiles of people who had been tagged with Emily at the party. It took hours, but finally, I found him. His real name was Daniel Hayes. A quick search revealed more than I was ready for, lawsuits, complaints, and whispers on online forums from people who had crossed paths with him. Women he had charmed, families he had wrecked, even accusations of fraud. He wasn't just some smooth-talking stranger, he was a pattern, a danger, a man who thrived on destruction. My chest tightened as I realized Emily had no idea who she had left me for. To her, he was just excitement, charm, and a way out of a marriage she thought was stale. To me, he was a ticking time bomb. As I scrolled deeper, my phone buzzed again. It was the unknown number. Asterisk, now you know who he is. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Asterisk. I stared at the screen, my jaw clenched. I didn't have the answer yet. But I knew one thing for certain, I wasn't going to sit back and let Daniel Hayes destroy my wife, even if she had already walked away from me. By morning, I had made up my mind. Sitting in silence wasn't an option anymore. Emily deserved to know the truth, even if she didn't want to hear it from me. I drove to her sister's house, where I suspected she might be staying. Sure enough, her car was parked in the driveway. My chest tightened, but I forced myself out of the car and knocked on the door. Emily answered, her expression hardening the second she saw me. "David, what are you doing here?" "I need 5 minutes," I said firmly. "Just 5. Then I'll leave." She hesitated, then stepped aside reluctantly. Inside, she crossed her arms, defensive. "If you came here to beg me back, don't bother. I've made my choice." I pulled out my phone and set it on the table between us, the photo of her and Mark lighting up the screen. "Then at least make sure you know who you chose." Her eyes flickered, a trace of uncertainty breaking through her bravado. "What is this supposed to mean?" "His name isn't Mark. It's Daniel Hayes," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "He's been sued for fraud, accused of manipulating women, destroying marriages. He's not who you think he is." Emily laughed nervously, but I could see the cracks forming in her confidence. "You're just desperate. Making up stories to scare me." I leaned closer, my eyes locked on hers. "I wish I was making it up. But if you don't believe me, search his name yourself. You'll see everything." For the first time since the party, I saw fear in her eyes. Emily snatched up my phone with trembling hands, her eyes darting across the screen. I could see the color drain from her face as she scrolled through the search results. Headlines of lawsuits, testimonies from women, forums filled with warnings, it was all there in black and white. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "No, this can't be right. He told me things were different. That people were jealous of him." I shook my head slowly. "That's how he works. He tells each woman she's the exception. That she's the one who really understands him. But the truth? He's done this before, and he'll do it again." Emily set the phone down as though it burned her fingers. She paced the room, her breathing unsteady. I don't know what to believe anymore." "You don't have to believe me," I said quietly. "Believe the facts. Look at the records. Look at the names of the people he's hurt. You're about to be next on that list if you don't walk away." Her eyes welled with tears, and for the first time since the party, she wasn't defiant, she was scared. But before either of us could say another word, her phone buzzed on the table. Daniel's name lit up the screen. Emily froze, staring at it as though it were a live grenade. The phone buzzed again, Daniel's name flashing like a warning sign. Emily's hand hovered over it, her expression torn between fear and longing. "Don't answer," I said firmly. She looked at me, her eyes wide, conflicted. "What if he knows I'm with you right now? What if?" "Emily," I cut in, my voice steady, "that man doesn't love you. He never did. He sees you as another game, another conquest. If you pick up, he'll spin more lies until you can't see straight again." Her fingers trembled, then finally she let the phone buzz out. The silence afterward felt heavy, almost suffocating. But only a minute later, another notification appeared, this time a message. Emily unlocked her phone, and we both read the words on the screen. "Asterisk, don't listen to him. He's lying because he's losing you. Meet me tonight, and I'll prove it. Asterisk. I clenched my fists, rage boiling inside me. He wasn't just manipulative, he was bold enough to try pulling her away right in front of me. Emily's tears spilled over. She sank into a chair, holding her head in her hands. I don't know what to do anymore. I thought leaving you was the hardest decision of my life. But now. I knelt in front of her, my voice low but determined. You have a choice right now, Emily. Believe the man who's already betrayed dozens of women, or believe the truth staring you in the face. She looked at me through tear-streaked eyes, caught in the middle of a storm she had walked into herself. And then, she whispered, what if it's too late? Emily wiped her tears, staring down at the message. Her voice was barely above a whisper. If I don't meet him, I'll never know for sure. I need to hear it from him. My stomach dropped. Emily, no. That's exactly what he wants. He thrives on pulling you deeper the moment you doubt him. But she shook her head, her resolve hardening. If I just walk away without facing him, part of me will always wonder if you exaggerated. I have to see him one last time. I felt a surge of frustration, but I also knew arguing would only push her closer to him. So I took a slow breath and nodded. Fine. But if you go, I'm going too. You don't have to tell him I'm there. I'll stay in the background. But I won't let you walk into this alone. Her eyes flickered with hesitation, but she didn't say no. That was enough. That evening, she sent Daniel a message, okay. Tonight. His response came instantly with an address, a sleek rooftop bar downtown. As the sun set, we drove in silence. Emily sat rigid in the passenger seat, her phone clutched tightly, while I tried to keep my breathing steady. My mind raced with every possible outcome. When we arrived, I parked a block away. Emily adjusted her dress in the mirror, trying to hide her fear under a mask of confidence. Remember, I said, my voice low but firm. I'll be close. The second something feels wrong, you walk away. She nodded slowly, opened the door, and walked toward the bar's glowing entrance. I followed at a distance, my eyes locked on her as she disappeared inside, straight into the lion's den. The rooftop bar shimmered with city lights, a place designed for charm and illusion. From my spot in the shadows near the entrance, I could see Emily approach a reserved corner table. And there he was, Daniel Hayes, all confidence and smiles, like a predator who knew his prey had returned. He stood to greet her, kissing her hand with exaggerated flair. Emily, he said smoothly, loud enough that I caught every word. I was worried you'd let your husband poison your mind. Emily sat stiffly across from him, her arms crossed. David showed me things about you. Lawsuits. Stories from other women. Tell me they aren't true. Daniel's smile never faltered. He leaned back casually, as if the question amused him. Of course people say things. When you're successful, jealousy follows. Do you think I'd be here, with you, if any of that nonsense were real? His words dripped like honey, but I could see Emily's unease. She wanted to believe him, yet doubt tugged at her. Then Daniel leaned forward, his voice dropping lower. You have to decide, Emily. Do you want to stay chained to a man who doesn't excite you? Or step into the life you deserve, with me? Her hands trembled. I could see the war raging inside her. And that's when Daniel made his mistake. He reached across the table and gripped her wrist a little too firmly. Don't let him scare you away from happiness, he whispered. Emily's eyes widened, and for the first time, fear flickered across her face. I stepped closer, ready to intervene. I couldn't stand back any longer. The moment Daniel's grip tightened on Emily's wrist, I pushed through the crowd and approached their table. His smug smile faded as he noticed me. Let her go, I said, my voice sharp enough to cut through the music. Emily's eyes darted between us, her lips trembling. Daniel, however, leaned back slowly, finally releasing her wrist. He smirked. Well, well. The loyal husband arrives. Couldn't resist playing the hero, could you? I kept my gaze locked on him. This isn't about me. It's about the dozens of lives you've ruined. I've seen the proof. And Emily has too. Daniel chuckled, a low, mocking sound. Proof? Online gossip and jealous husbands? Please. She knows I can give her a life you never could. I took a step closer, lowering my voice so only he and Emily could hear. A life built on lies, fraud, and broken promises. I know who you are, Daniel Hayes. And if you don't walk away tonight, I'll make sure everyone else here knows too. For the first time, his mask cracked. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing as though calculating his next move. Emily, her voice shaky, whispered, Daniel, is it true? He turned back to her, his charm slipping. Emily, don't listen to him. He's desperate. He's trying to tear us apart. But I saw it in her face, doubt had turned into realization. She was finally seeing the man behind the mask. And Daniel knew it too. Daniel's calm facade began to crumble. His smile faltered, his voice sharpened. You think you're smarter than me, David? You think you can just dig around online and ruin me? People nearby started glancing over, sensing the tension. Emily shrank back in her seat, her fear now undeniable. I stayed steady, refusing to let him rattle me. No, Daniel. You ruined yourself. The lawsuits, the women you manipulated, the lies, you left a trail too big to cover up. And tonight, she saw it with her own eyes. Emily finally found her voice, trembling but clear. Daniel, I trusted you. And you, she choked on the words, you played me. His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought he might lash out, but then he slammed his hand on the table, making Emily flinch. You're both pathetic, he spat, his charm gone, replaced by raw anger. Security began moving toward us, alerted by the noise. Daniel stood, glaring down at me with fire in his eyes. This isn't over, he hissed, his voice low enough for only me to hear. I stepped closer, my tone calm but unshakable. Oh, it's over. For you. Walk away before they drag you out. Security arrived, placing a hand on Daniel's shoulder. He tried to shrug them off but realized all eyes were now on him. With one last venomous look, he stormed toward the exit, his carefully crafted image shattered in front of everyone. Emily sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. She looked at me, not with defiance this time, but with regret. David, she whispered. What have I done? The rooftop bar fell into a hush after Daniel stormed out. The city lights glittered around us, but all I could see was Emily, sitting there, broken, her hands shaking as she wiped her tears. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The weight of everything that had happened hung heavy between us. Finally, she whispered, I threw everything away, for him. And you tried to warn me. Her voice cracked. How could I have been so blind? I looked at her, my heart torn. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to remind her of the pain she had caused me when she walked out with her suitcase. But in that moment, I saw the woman I had once loved, finally stripped of her illusions. Emily, I said quietly, we can't go back to what we were. Too much has happened. But what you do from here, that's up to you. You can either let this mistake define you, or you can learn from it and rebuild your life. Her eyes filled again, but this time with something different, understanding. She nodded slowly. I don't deserve your kindness, David. But thank you, for saving me from him. I stood, leaving her to her thoughts. As I walked toward the exit, I felt the weight begin to lift from my shoulders. My marriage might have ended that night, but so had the lies, the betrayal, and the poison that had almost consumed us both. Outside, the cool night air hit my face. For the first time in weeks, I breathed deeply, freely. Emily had made her choice. And now, it was my turn, to move forward, stronger than before.